Okay, let's go. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hurley Investments Market View Commentary for the second to the last day of March, the 30th, Monday evening. I'm not going to go over the recap, but we did go through a pretty good little rebound. So let me start with this. Let me just start with, are we at the bottom? That's the main question tonight. So if you think we're at a bottom, put yes. If you think we're going to retest it, let me know. I'm going to give you a couple seconds here to tell me if we are at the bottom yet or not. With that said, so that you guys know, right now the futures are up slightly, it looks like. Up 22 on the Dow, up 4.5 on the S&P, up 14 on the NASDAQ. So here we go. Let's get some answers here. No, not at the bottom with a capital no. Retest is coming. I see another no. And I see an N for a no. Not quite yet, but maybe. And again, of course, I'm going to give it to Lance. We could be at the bottom. Now, Lance, that's not what you said earlier today. Earlier today, you were telling me, yes, we're at the bottom, definitely. But now something's changed your mind. So the question is, and I'm primarily saying this to Lance, and I'm going to say probably not. But Lance, you were pretty sure that we were earlier today. And Keeve and I had a good conversation. Not our typical conversation from Monday, but it came down to we can't not take advantage of all the profits we have in puts. And we do. We've got quite a bit of profits in puts. In fact, I'll be honest with you, overall, I was down today. So here we had a 3% down day, and I was off by like 0.27%. So I'm not here showing portfolios today because primarily we're hedged to the downside, but most of that loss came from Boeing. But here we go. Are we probably at the bottom? And I'm going to show you what typically happens when you think you're at a bottom and you find out that your bottom is not as close as you thought. So I've got a brother that's a fisherman. I want you to enjoy 2 minutes and 15 seconds of thinking you're at the bottom, thinking you have it, thinking you're good to go, and just watch what happens. And I'm going to check the audio to make sure you guys can hear this.
I can barely fish one pole in the water. I can't fish two poles. This was in for maybe 2 minutes. It looks like, it feels like a red. Let's see what it looks like. Yep. Beautiful bronze red. Beautiful. Bull red number 3. Nice.
I'm soon going to run out of tackle and bait.
Look how beautiful golden brown that thing is. Oh, baby. That that shark just destroyed. Did you see that? Oh my gosh. Oh. So I had that golden bull red. I was bringing him up, and that shark just destroyed him. All we got left is a head. I'm gonna let that sit. Maybe that shark will come back for it. That was a huge shark too. Nice. Wow. I think I got that on video. Please tell me you got it. Well. That was a big shark. Whew.
I'm just going to make a comment. Here I thought I'd have the better fishing story. And my brother beat me over the weekend. Plain and simple. Just when you think you know it all, the market is like a shark and takes everything from you. He's got another good video where he almost loses his foot. Has some Spanish mackerel and he's got his foot out, and as the shark comes and gets the Spanish mackerel, he's got to fling his foot out of the way so it doesn't get his foot as well. Welcome to the Hurleys. But it's a lot like the market. Again, last week I told you two people gave up on the market. Two people are done. One losing 40%, one losing 50%. If they were in it today, they'd be down like 19%, right? Maybe not as much, maybe 25 to 30. You know, who knows what they were in. But the short answer is, what are you actively doing when you're in these type of markets? Are you just sitting around? And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Are you just sitting around in shit creek without a paddle? You can use your hands, but who wants to use your hands when you're up shit creek without a paddle? You can sit and let the market do what it does to you. Or you can actively work on making anything to the downside, knowing it's a profit when things come back. I don't have a lot right now. To be 100% honest with you, right now, once again, I'm confused by the market. I would have thought that we'd have a pretty good sell-off day today. And it bothers me because today we're above our 150. We're at 163,000. 3,148 deaths. probably have 3 to 4 more weeks till we'll plateau and those numbers will come down, which means we might easily be at 500,000 people infected before the new cases start to head down in the US. The simple question that I'm going to ask, does somehow all this stimulus fix the damage that's been done? And does it even help those that are infected with the coronavirus? And we don't know an answer because right now, how things are going to be distributed and pushed out, is it at $75 gross? Is it net? I understood this time the money's only going to go out to those that are $75,000 for a single, $150 for joint, but it's going also off of your gross returns in 2018. Now, I do have a pretty interesting article. It's not here. I do have a pretty interesting article that I put in here for those in Utah. Thought I had it in here. Huh. I don't have it in here, so let me grab it really quickly, because I think it's going to be helpful. I did pick up an article in Utah on what it means for unemployment. I thought I had it in here. What Utahns need to know about unemployment. So let me put this in here. I'm sorry, I thought I had this in here. This is a really interesting article to be on the bottom of our notes today. And I think this applies universally. It just happened to be in our paper about what Utahns need to know about unemployment insurance. Let me highlight this and let me post it just so you can see what at least the unemployment insurance looks like in my state. So obviously a claim skyrocketed. In my state, there were 19,591 claims, so 20,000 people, primarily in the food service industry. My son would be one of those. Well, the government stimulus package will affect my unemployment. It will not. It'll be $1,200 for most Americans, and it's not going to be considered earned income, so it's a freebie on this. Free is in the fact that our taxes will pay for it down the road. Who is eligible for the unemployment? Those are laid off temporarily, those that are in quarantine but not show symptoms and will return to work, those who are available to come to work because the workplace itself has been quarantined. Yeah. I'm just going to say, let's put it that way. There it is right there. I don't know why that's so high. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and take this out too. Make it easier for you guys to read. They made the comment, so people actually contracted or not eligible. Of course they're eligible. Anyone that's not working, they can sign up. Both my job plans are hiring me back when they can. These workers are considered job attached and are still eligible for unemployment as long as they're not receiving paid leave or other payments from their employer. If your hours are reduced, you can be eligible for some assistance, but not at all. They have a little Uber thing. And also in our state, Utah is requiring general applicants to make 4 job contacts weekly. Although you may be granted work search deferral. How long will you be paid if you're ineligible? Really, it's until you go back to work. But it may take up to 3 weeks to get your checks, and then it tells you how you apply. So the short answer is there's a lot that's still unknown. And I'm confused that the market's not going down. So when Keith and I had our discussion today, he's like, we should do something. And I sat there and I said, last day of the month, we normally go through some rebalancing, some sell-off. I could not pull the trigger today, and I won't pull the trigger tomorrow till hour and a half before the market closes to see if we get a sell-off tomorrow or not. If you ask me where I think the markets are going to go, I'm going to say higher, but I could really see a 4 to 5% sell-off tomorrow, which would put us, if we're back at that closing on the Dow at 22,327, I could see, again, 1,000 to a 1,400 point sell-off, which would bring us down to that 2,100-ish level to test again. And I'd rather test that level than go down and test 19,000 or the lows of 18,213. So I think we're going to go down big tomorrow. And then obviously on Wednesday, new month, new cash, new funds get to be put back in. So it's a matter of taking some profits off tomorrow and getting ready for a bounce on Wednesday. The S&P looks exactly the same. I would much rather test on the S&P 2,500 than I'd want to test 24, but either one works. Either one is a good opportunity, and we're just getting our death cross, the 50-day crossing below the 200-day. If we can get a couple more updays, a down day tomorrow, a couple more updays, that might show as a bounce. That might show as just a bounce right here off instead of a cross. And on the NASDAQ, same thing at 77.74. I would like to see us test 7,500 tomorrow and hold it. That would give me more confidence that maybe this is going to be a true V-shape with a point down there at 66.31. As I said before, I'm not interested in trying to catch the exact bottom. That would be too much risk and it would be too hard, but I would be willing to see where we end up. In March, I thought we'd be down about 15%. You can see I went to the downside. I'm not going to give an April, well, I should though. April 2020, if I was going to give any kind of prediction, right now it'd start off with it just being flat. I don't have enough information to give you an honest prediction. What I do know is this: not all there's no data coming in right now that has a punch that we would expect to matter. There's just nothing that's going to come in that people are going to say, oh yeah, we're going to go higher, we're going to go lower. It's just not there. So as I was looking through at stuff, in all honesty, We had our pending home sales. I really thought they would be ridiculously bad, and they came in at 2.4 instead of being down 1.6. In which case, I sat there and I was thinking, well, geez, that's awesome. That's really a good number. But then in the news today, the Dallas Fed that was supposed to come in at negative 10.38 came in at a negative 70. And that was the talk of the day. But it didn't matter. And nothing about Texas or Dallas manufacturing sucking it mattered whatsoever. It was just overlooked. So if I'm continuing to look, consumer confidence should be down tomorrow. Still, though, over 100 at 110. Wouldn't surprise me to see consumer confidence at 100 versus 110. Just kind of curious, where do you think they have consumer confidence here? Bunch of Japan manufacturing, I'm not paying attention to it. They don't even have it. They don't even have an idea. It's kind of funny. Really funny. They should have something in there, and they're pulling it. They don't know. They just don't know, and I guess that's probably commendable that people aren't out there guessing. I am going to say, though, average work week will be really distorted. Non-farm payroll, I mean, it's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. If on Friday we don't sell off with the ugly numbers we get there, I will feel comfortable in calling a bottom. Calling a bottom without having to retest the lows. International, I need to take that out. I should have. I just didn't. Guess that's because I don't know, right? Consumers could spend $20 billion less for gasoline this April as prices collapse in futures market. Our oil looks atrocious, and oil is below $20 a barrel today, which was absolutely hilarious. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. It's funny that we have some kind of deal that Trump is trying to make with Putin. It was mentioned that they spoke today. I know we are doing some, I don't want to call it terrorist, but some type of, can't think of the word today, some type of restrictions on Russia based on them no longer even working with a country that we don't like down south. Be interesting to see where that goes. Boeing will reject aid if the government requires equity stake. That was their bounce last week. I started pulling a bunch of stuff, but obviously it was too big of a bounce as we're selling off. The good news is, even though we're down on Boeing today, if I pull up where exactly we are on those guys, Boeing is down to 153. It did hold 150. And so we know right now we've got a quick bounce up to 180, if not 200. But we know we touched 181, 188 intraday. So we're looking at a bounce on Boeing to at least 181, could be to 188 or 200 before we have a serious resistance level. And Boeing after hours is up 79 cents. We have Bernanke that needs another 15 minutes in the fame. A very sharp recession followed by a fairly quick rebound, which means this would not be a sell in May and go away. Remember, though, companies have up to 45 to 90 days to postpone their earnings. So as I mentioned last week, I think I did it on Thursday, you're really placing your positions for protective puts, bull calls, whatever you're doing here. You're really looking at only the next 4 weeks. your decisions shouldn't be over earnings. Most of the companies that have earnings coming up in a week or two will most likely postpone them because they can. But look to see a postponement of earnings, in which case your protection, if you're thinking you're going to protect through earnings, don't think that way. Think about how you're going to protect for the next 4 weeks, or if you need to. It might not be a bad idea. If we do get crossovers on the S&P 500, the Dow, the NASDAQ, it might not be a bad idea to start to invest in the indexes and to let us, well, how do I say it? It wouldn't be a bad idea to invest in the indexes or invest longer term. Small bites, 20, 25% of your position, invest in it. Plan on still having a retest, but have capital available to add more. So if you want to put 10 contracts in for 2 years from now, start off with 2 or 3. Coronavirus may be deadlier than the 1918 flu. Just some information for you guys to look at. It also goes through all the most recent ones, the H1N1, the flu pandemic, SARS, MERS, measles, Ebola, all that to give it a comparison on where we're really at. Why stocks are rising on the terrible news. I just thought it was interesting. I'm not sure if I agree with it, but the key word here was indiscriminate selling. For most part, all the weak-hearted, the retail investors bailed out of everything. And now you have some people that are seeing it a little bit better than what we're looking at. The S&P just hit a level that could spark the next meltdown. This is the opposite side on why you could go lower. An interesting article on looking to, I invest in Baidu. Baidu owns 30% of Alibaba. Interesting article on why China may have, well, they're on the downside, right? They're on the downside. They have less, well, their economy is coming back quicker than everything else is right now because they were one of the first. True, you can't really trust everything the Chinese say, but they could very easily inflate their economy by putting, I think it was $5 trillion to work in their economy. And obviously it's going to help some of the China area if you're interested in it. And then obviously I've got my Utahns, about unemployment insurance. So I don't have a whole lot for you today. I'm going to apologize. In all honesty, I think we're in no man's land. But if you have some questions, what questions do you guys have that I can answer? And if I can go back to Lance, I'm not ready to see, for all intents and purposes, I'm just not ready to see. I'm not ready to call a bottom and to risk putting new money to work. Again, you sounded like you were more calling a bottom earlier today, but you're not doing so right now. To really, really call your bottom, you've got to go bullish. And going bullish might mean that you have out of the money puts that won't do you a lick of good if things fall. And I'm primarily concerned about the end of a month tomorrow. Not only that, but I will not be around tomorrow for the trade findings and adjustments. Key will take care of that. I've got to do some filing and some finishing up of getting the Hurley Investments bond in place, registered, and ready to go. So if you have any questions, type them in. And of course, so Lance, the simple question that I was trying to make, and if I can answer your question here. So are you saying we're going to retest the bottom? And so what I'm going to tell you is the probabilities 24 out of 25 times, you go and you retest the lows. Now we might not go all the way down. We might only go down another 5%. So the short answer is I'm playing the probabilities. And for that reason, some of you will notice we rolled some protection up on Bank of America. We nibbled a little bit, but we've got some stuff we've got to do on Disney, on Under Armour, on Visa, on Apple. I mean, we've got a lot we've got to do by Friday till that stuff expires. So I think what I'm trying to tell you is I'm playing the probabilities that 96% of the time, 97% of the time, we go back and retest or come close to retesting those lows. I would expect there will be some type of bad news that moves us back down that way. For that reason, I'm trying to be a little extra protective. We will add more shares, we will take profits, but I'm not ready just to pull everything off and let things run. So Kevin, does that mean we'll be giving up some of our profits on the way back up? The short answer there is yes, but that's why we're also doing bear puts so we can roll that short up. And at a time where our VIX is still in the 60s, I believe, still extremely high, I want to make sure that we, I just want to make sure that we don't give away the farm. So that's the short answer. I'm not willing to give away the farm and just, the VIX is actually at 57.08, down 8.46 points or 21.91% today. So we're putting things in place that if we do get a big shot up to the upside, we can roll the shorts on your puts above the puts, make it a bull put, and possibly pay off your insurance for a period of time 100%. Okay, I don't see any other questions that came in. I'm going to end this one a little early. First time in a while, we've been here at 36 minutes versus 55 to an hour. Guys, have a good evening. And if I don't see anything else come in, any other questions come in, let me make sure I haven't missed any questions. Then let's call it a night. No. All right, guys, have a good evening. You'll get Kiev tomorrow night. I do apologize. And just like that fishing video, just when you think you have it all figured out and everything's good to go, don't get left with your portfolio just having a head left on it and all the body's eaten up. It's so not worth it. Have a good evening, guys. I'll see you Thursday morning, and Keith will take care of you on Tuesday. Good night.